Welcome to Musings of an Earth Girl. I am your host, Laurel Bleadon-Maffei, and I'm so grateful for our time together. This podcast is designed to be a loving, sweet space where you can rest for a while. We'll be talking about snippets of life, we'll be talking about angels, we'll be talking about moments of inspiration that serve as catalysts to move our life forward. I'm so grateful for this time together. So sit back and get comfortable, and we'll see where this conversation takes us. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous friends. This is Laurel here, and I am so grateful for this time together. So as I'm recording this, we are about 2 days away from the new year. So it's still 2018 as I record this message for you. And whenever you listen to it, we may be well into 2019. Time is relative. And wherever you are in this moment, I send you love. The angels and I gather together in this moment, and we send waves of love and compassion and understanding and goodness to you. So, I wasn't sure I was going to record an episode about completing 2018 and moving into 2019. I typically like to record when I feel that I have something meaningful and inspiring to share. And maybe I do. I don't know. I don't really have a plan for today's episode other than to start off and share with you a little bit about my own reflections. And perhaps there'll be catalysts for you to understand better what your journey through this year has been and help you anchor in your intentions for the coming one. So I'm not one of these people that believes that we have to resolve all of our stuff before we go into the new year and that we have to have big, bold inspirations or aspirations for the coming year. I believe it's just a passage of time, but it's a helpful passage of time because it gives us an opportunity for reflection. Life sometimes moves so quickly and we forget how much we have grown or how much we have been through. For a lot of us, we focus on our achievements or what we want to do or where we want to be. And that means that sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to really reflect upon what we have moved through to get to this moment. And I think each year has its own personality. And I think there are themes to each year in the collective. So if you were to talk to a lot of people, you might see some similar experiences happening. But fortunately, we're also individuals. So depending on, and I love some of these oracles like numerology and astrology, it may be that the stars aligned and set you up for a really awesome year, or maybe your year was really difficult. I will say for me, and many of the people who I work with, 2018 has felt like a rather difficult year. This wasn't one of those light, fluffy years where we're sharing all of our great adventures. Not that there weren't adventures to be had, but I will say for me personally, this felt like one of the more challenging years. In the self-growth arena, we like to focus on what we have dominion over, right? So my thoughts create my reality. Intentions are important. I am a vibrational being and I can have influence over my experience in this life. And I believe all of that is true. And I also believe there is randomness to life, that sometimes life happens or storms happen, things happen in life. And the only thing we really have dominion over is how we show up in the storm. And to me, that feels like that was a lot of the personality of this year for many of us, was there were these unexpected storms and we could then choose how we would show up in it. So a couple things that I'll share with you that have been helpful for me in this. One happened a few months ago. I had been lamenting some of the shifts that I'm feeling in my life. And there are things over which I don't have much control. I'm not going to go into the details because it feels rather personal to me, but I'm sure you have your own experience of what I describe. And the angels came to me and they said, one of the ways to help yourself move through this is to contemplate this question, which is, what is seeking to be born through you? What is seeking to be born through you? What if there is no againstness here? What if there is no stuckness here? What if you are being supported? And what if these shifts and changes that are happening in your life and in the world are an invitation for you to blossom open into another expression of who you are? And I found this to be so helpful because it softened my hard edges around some of the things that had been happening in my life. Because there were certain places in my life where my life felt clumsy. And I kept thinking, what am I doing wrong? Like, what do I need to do differently? How do I change this? How do I show up differently? Again, in the self-growth arena, we get really focused on what is in my power. What can I do to change this? And what if there is not anything I need to do to change this other than to be present to what is? Yes, it's like if you're in the middle of a blizzard, you're in the middle of a blizzard. You didn't manifest the blizzard. You didn't think bad thoughts that caused the blizzard. Yelling at the blizzard isn't going to change circumstances. So I really loved this inquiry from the angels, this invitation to contemplate what is seeking to be born through me. It allowed me to release judgment that my experience should be different than what it is. It allowed me to clear that pattern where I thought maybe I was doing something wrong and maybe I needed to show up differently. And as I opened to what is seeking to be born through me, I felt profound compassion come in and spaciousness. Because in that inquiry, there's a deep breath that says, sweet child, just take a breath. What is life asking of you now? What is the invitation here? And the invitations have been different than what I would have come up with on my own. But the invitations are incredibly beautiful. And I will share that one of the invitations helped become the catalyst for a shift in my trajectory that birthed this podcast. This podcast was seeded by part of this inquiry of what is seeking to be born through me. I had been very successful in social media for a long time, and I loved social media. I loved Facebook specifically. I have a lot of people who had liked my page for Illuminating Souls, and it used to be my page was a place for very dynamic engagement. And I also have a mailing list, which has been a dynamic source of engagement. And this year, 2018, everything really started quieting down. And social media no longer felt like a warm blanket to me. It no longer felt like the place where I was going to be able to cultivate my relationship with my audience. Because I love my audience. I love all of you. I love my people. I feel like we're a community. We're a village of light. And I kept feeling like I was broadcasting into, a void or something. And a friend of mine asked me, she said, "What do you want to do?" And I said very simply, "I just want to love my people. I just want to love my people." That's it. And I started talking to her about this podcast and how wanted to give myself permission for this not to be some big, important, spiritual teacher podcast. I just wanted to love my people. And so that really came out of this inquiry of what is seeking to be born through you. So where it felt to me like the universe was closing a door for me with social media and the things that had worked for me before, and I was so frustrated, and what was I doing wrong, and how do I fix this? The question led to a softening of what is seeking to be born through you. And I thought, this direct connection, for me as somebody who loves podcasts and listens to them, when I put my earbuds in my ears and I turn on my podcast that I listen to, especially if it's in the middle of the night or a moment when I am seeking companionship. I think we listen to podcasts for a lot of different reasons. My desire in my experience with podcasts is I'm looking for someone to keep me company. Usually it's at a time in my day when I'm looking for companionship. And I'm looking for somebody to be gentle and loving and uplifting. And so this inquiry of what is seeking to be born through you helped soften the edges and quiet my inner critic to get me to this point. So I offer that to you when you look back at your experience of this year, especially if this year was hard for you. This year was hard for many of us. Maybe you'll find value in this question of what is seeking to be born through you. So just take a breath with that. And if your answer is, I have no frickin' idea, that's okay. We can ask the angels to help bring you clarity. And not that the clarity will come in 30 seconds, but maybe in the next few days, it will come to you. That we are ever evolving beings. There's never a time in life when we stop growing and we stop changing. So not only are we on a personal journey of self-growth, but as a collective, we are growing too. And listen, if you feel like as a collective we're regressing too, that is probably just as accurate. We're in motion as a collective. So I really do invite you to take a deep breath in. And together, let's send light and love to all of our experiences of the past year, whatever they were. If they were bright and shiny, if they were incredibly hard. Let's send light to every moment of this year and bless them as holy and sacred moments. Moments when we were held gently in the hearts of our angels, and where somehow we made it to this moment. That you made it to this moment. And there are beautiful prayers and blessings that are being said in your name to support you as you continue moving forward. I will share, it was interesting, I usually this time of year, I try to make a list of memorable, meaningful moments. And I found the one that I did for 2017, and I thought, wow, that's an amazing list that all this happened. And I went to do my list for this year, and I was like, oh my God, this is a sad, sad list. It doesn't mean that every moment of this year has been sad, but when I really think about the meaningful moments of this year, they are not light and fluffy. Although I will share a couple of the light, fluffy moments with you. This year, I received the inspiration to begin compiling my book that I've been waiting to birth for almost 20 years. And this is not a shill for my book because it's still not ready, but I'm a lot further ahead than I was last year at this time. Another beautiful thing that came out of this year is, certainly the podcast. I know I've said this to you early in this episode, but oh my gosh, that we're even talking in this way is amazing. And also, I feel like this year I got clarity in the evolution I want to make with my work. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to do angels anymore or I'm going to shift things profoundly. You may not even really notice, but I've gotten clarity on how I want to shift my relationship to what I do, in service to bringing even more joy into it. Another really fun thing that happened this year is I revived my writers groups. So back in 2006, when I was launching Illuminating Souls, I got started offering writing groups. And I'll tell you how they happened. There was a writing class that I took. The teacher's name is Jack Grapes, and he teaches writing classes in Los Angeles. So if you're in the LA area and you're looking for an awesome writing class, Jack Grapes is amazing. And I had gone to spiritual teacher training with Doreen Virtue. This would be, again, 2005, I think. And either 2005 or 2006. And in part of the spiritual teacher's training was she was going to go around the room and give each one of us a 5-minute reading, which was so cool. And she gets to me, and I forget everything she said except for this one thing. She said, "And I see for you writers groups." And I was so in awe of getting this reading from her at the time. I thought it's like, that's awesome, writing groups, yes. And I forgot to ask, was I supposed to take them or facilitate them? And I got back and I said to a few of my friends, I told them the story, and they said, facilitate them. We want you to facilitate writing groups and we'll come to them. And so that is how my writers groups were born, and they were spiritually based writer groups. So we talked about angels, we did guided meditations, we did writing as a result of our guided meditations, and they were juicy and delicious, and they really carried me through the first few years of my business. And then they sort of dwindled off, because this happens in life, right? It's like things lose their steam because we're supposed to migrate on to other things. And this year was the first year in many years that I was guided to offer writer groups again. And they were amazing, and they sold out, and I was so excited. And getting ready to offer some more in the winter in 2019. And that was another huge win for me this year, was kind of inspiration coming full circle. You know, I think sometimes when we feel stuck or still, or, you know, this sometimes happens to me in business, that I'm announcing classes and it feels like, you know, people are not signing up and what am I doing wrong? Or you might experience it if you're job hunting and you're sending out resumes and it seems like you're not getting responses. Like there's times when we hit these patches of stillness and we kind of get mired in the lull of life. And it's hard because we're action-based people and we want to be able to do something to move it forward. But again, when we come back to what is seeking to be born through me, it creates the opening for the wisdom to come in. And I feel like there was a lot of that happened this year. It happened with my writers groups. It happened as I started to birth my book. It happened with the podcast. And it's happened in other areas too. So even though this year has been very uncomfortable for me, and maybe for you too, I also believe that we have grown. And I really believe that life is issuing all of us these invitations to move beyond this moment, that we are being prepared for what is to come, that I believe that our path is strewn with blessings, and that we always have permission, we always have permission to evolve in a way that will bring us even more joy and fulfillment and goodness. So whatever your experiences were this year, just love this year, forgive this year, reconcile yourself to whatever happened this year, and make space for the new to be born through you. And you don't need to know what the new is going to be. You know, you don't need to set these big, powerful intentions for the new year. Maybe just connect with what is a quality you would like to cultivate in the coming year. What would you like to experience more of? What are you opening yourself up 4, and 2. What is seeking to be born through you? I promise you, whatever it is, the answer will be beautiful, and it will be in alignment with who you are and why you're here. And so, my beautiful, beautiful friends, I send you love. I wish you a graceful completion to 2018, and I wish you joy, good health, and lots of love in 2019. I am really looking forward to continuing our adventure together. We're going to see where we go. This is still the early days of this podcast, and I love that you have trusted me enough to let me whisper to you as you go about your day or night or the wee hours of the morning. So happy completion, happy new year, happy life. Thank you, dear ones. We'll talk again soon. Musings of an Earth Girl is brought to you by me, Laurel Bleadon-Maffei, and Illuminating Souls. I invite you to join me at illuminatingsouls.com, where you can learn more about the classes and services I offer, including angel readings, soul mentoring, and classes designed to inspire your spirit. You also can sign up for the Daily Inspiration email blast, where you'll receive an uplifting message from me each day by email, Monday through Friday. You can sign up for that at my homepage at Illuminating Souls. Thank you, dear one, for spending this time with me. You are why I do this work. You are why I've created this podcast, because I know that whenever our souls meet, when we meet in the land of love and light and inspiration, the world becomes a bit brighter. So thank you for who you are and the light you shine in this world. I am so deeply grateful for you. I send you love, I send you blessings, and I send you sparkles of magic.